First thing was about time blocking, like how to use time blocking, okay? And without getting the details at the bottom level of what it is, it's basically what you think it is if you're not familiar with it. It's just blocking out your time using a calendar or anything that tracks time. So a pen and paper, excuse me, using the Best Self Journal or an online calendar, whatever it is that you want to use. However, what I recommend doing if you're not familiar with this from doing it before is to actually just get a pen and paper, a decent sized piece of paper, maybe a pad, and then or a spreadsheet, whatever your preference is, and then start by writing down at the start of your day in 30-minute increments what it is you're doing. Okay, and I try to set a reminder every 1 to 2 hours just to quickly take literally 1 or 2 minutes and write down for the past hour or two what it was I've been doing in those blocks of time. And there's a couple reasons for this. One, the big overall reason is because it's a great way to start to see patterns of what we're doing and where our time is actually going. Because when we look back, we're usually pretty terrible about remembering 8 hours a day ago, a week ago, what we were actually doing, like really pretty granularly. And this gives us a way to keep track of ourselves in a way that we can kind of enlighten ourselves as far as what's the patterns, what am I actually spending my time on? I thought I was working on creating content, but I actually ended up spending 15 minutes on Reddit that, it started out as like content research, but then it totally deviated. Maybe I answered a phone call in the middle of this and that sidetracked me, or I went into my email and to look up somebody's information to get their website for some research. And then I ended up answering 3 emails and then went back to whatever. And it's not all bad. It's just recognizing the patterns because what you want to do is see in the end how you can get more of the good stuff and less of the bad stuff. All right. And then write it all down. This is just a side note. Don't worry about this. No one else has to see this stuff. You can keep it to yourself. But if you're not honest, then the only person you're messing with it is yourself. And the other, let's see, I had some other notes about this that I wanted to go through real quick. But yeah, this is obviously will give you your initial insights into where your time's going. And then the improvements I find that you can make tend to be pretty obvious. There's not a lot of deep stuff needed on this. Once you really write this stuff down, it becomes kind of evident when you go back and look through it what's going on. And some immediate fixes you can make to that. And then the reminder part of this, I definitely advise setting a reminder for every 1 to 2 hours to do this, is because if you wait till the end of the day, there's no way you're going to remember the details. And again, it could be just a single line, but just saying, I answered 2 emails, I wrote, did this, talked to this person, getting all that stuff done in like for even 30-minute increments, which is pretty broad, is going to be really hard or next to impossible, or you'll just kind of throw up your hands and say, I'm done with this. And that's coming from experience. So just set a reminder on something, whatever it is that works best for you, and do that. So yeah, a lot of these that will come up and we've seen frequently is obviously social media, calls, interruptions, anything to do with the phone, emails, getting kind of into the rabbit hole there. And then productively procrastinating, which is a favorite of mine. As like, well, okay, I did something that needed to be done, or was not unproductive, but it wasn't the main goal that I should have been working towards. And so starting to identify that, and then maybe you can start to build some habits around it, but that's topic for another time. So as far as next steps and time blocking, so the time blocking, that's more of a time tracking we just talked about. But for time blocking is to start now literally doing this in your day-to-day ahead of time. So Google Calendar is what I use. I also use the Best Self Journal that we just talked about. And so on this side over here, we've got a little bit of a calendar in terms of the day and saying, okay, what is my plan for this day? And I find it helpful to write it down, even though I have most of the stuff in my calendar. And I can add little notes, maybe if there's something I need to adjust, or literally adjust the time. And this is important for a lot of times. The main benefit I've seen from this is you get better about recognizing what it is you need to do, then how long it will take, and how much or little time you have to do everything else. So basically, this is like a feedback loop into your planning process. So this is going to loop back into your daily review your time management, and then general goal setting. Because over time, you're gonna understand and feel, good or bad, you're gonna see that the results of this and saying, oh, okay, well, I put an hour in there to write an article, and it ended up taking me 2, or I didn't get it done for several days. And that's kind of an extreme example, but saying, oh, well, that's normal, that happens. But okay, now I understand that writing the article maybe included research. I needed to get images, I needed to write it, I needed to then step away from it and then come back and edit it, and saying, oh, okay, well, that 1 hour block is unrealistic. It needs to span at least 2 days, and it needs to take 2 hours, as an example. So that's the type of benefits you get from doing this, and that's just one example. And I think it's hugely beneficial because it starts helping you hit deadlines, makes you more responsible both to yourselves and the other people you've agreed to do things with or for. And then over time, you're able to start better projecting for projects and other things like that. So really important stuff. Thanks for watching. You can stay up to date by subscribing right there. If you'd like to come join our free Facebook group about process, automation, productivity, all that good stuff, you can do that right there. Just answer the few quick questions and you'll be in.